Before going ahead in the video, there's something I wanted to warn you about. If you do not understand what the title, Gojo is still alive, means, then just get the hell out of the video. Don't watch it. This has been on the internet for quite some time, but if you have no idea about the title and thumbnail, then just get out of the video and never come back. Come back only when the anime has reached up to this point. What I'll be discussing ahead has serious spoilers and I don't want you to get spoiled. So don't you dare watch the video. Anyways, let's go ahead. Welcome guys, today in this video we're gonna talk about a very trending topic going on over the internet for quite some time now, which is, if you're an anime only and still watching, then you still have time, get out. So I'm assuming you're out. Well, this has began a lot heated discussions among the fans in the internet, especially in Twitter, that Gojo Satoru, the strongest sorcerer of Jujutsu High, is killed by Sukuna in one of the latest chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen. Which of course shocked everyone, including me, all over the internet, and people in Japan also held a memorial for Gojo. But here comes the main question. Is he really dead? I don't think so. And there are a couple of hypothetical reasons and clues through which I believe that Gojo can still come back, despite being cut in half by Sukuna. And of course you would want to know how, so that's what I'm here for, so let's begin. So first of all, let's see what actually happened in the chapter. In the beginning, or most of the part of the chapter, a dreamlike sequence was shown where young Gojo is hanging out with all his dead friends like Nanami, Geto, and so on. Then after the conversation which ran in the entire chapter, and at the very last panel of the chapter, we're shown that Gojo is blown in half by Sukuna, and yet we're just shown. We didn't got to see how or what happened, it was just shown that he's divided into two parts. So how exactly can he come back from this? Because even we think about the reverse curse technique, then it will still not work, because this technique only allows you to heal fatal injuries, not to bring you back from dead. So how? So this where my theory comes, which is supported by bunch of clues, especially in this flashback sequence, and in the Jujutsu Kaisen story overall, and some hypothetical scenarios as well. So let's begin with the clues first. So the conversation shown between Gojo and others in this dreamlike sequence is very important, especially this panel. So in this panel's conversation between them, Nanami tells, if you want to become someone new, go north; if you'd like to return to who you are, then go south. Which is pretty interesting because they're sitting in airport terminal, which has spirituality, which represents new change heading someone's way, a new journey, and a higher counseliousness that will unfold. And then Nanami says he without any hesitation chose south in his final moments. He has always liked the idea of looking into the past. And Nanami, in his final moments, he saw Hibara standing in front of him right before his death, and then said that at that moment, he chose south and decided to go back to who he used to be while betting on the future. From that, we can decipher that Nanami was in a limbo of sorts, just like how Gojo is now, and he still has a choice to make. Something else that is important to point out is the way Gojo's dialogue was written in Japanese. When the chapter first starts, he uses the word or, which Geto had reprimanded him before, telling him he should stop being so full of himself. However, at the end, he uses boku. Japanese fans pointed out that the writing is very deliberate, continuing to go off the north versus south convo. If he were to say or at the end, then it could be seen as him staying as he is, his teenage self, but since he changed his wording, it circles back to, if you would like to become someone new, go north, which means the current Gojo would choose north. Now here comes a bit of foreshadowing, which is the lotus flower shown in between conversation of Gojo and Geto, and it has parallels between Buddhism and Gojo. So let's decipher it. So one of the most prominent things that have been pointed out in this chapter is the lotus flower that appears while Gojo is talking to Suguru. The lotus flower that is shown carries the meaning of strength, resilience, and rebirth. Something that's also interesting about this is a story that's told in Buddhism about how Buddha took 7 steps to the north. The exact quote goes like this: when he was born, Bodhisattva Vipasyan emerged from his mother's right side, he fell to the ground and walked 7 paces without anyone helping him. He looked around in the 4 directions, raised his hand, and said, only I am exalted by both heaven and earth, for I will save sentient beings from birth, old age, illness, and death. Throughout heaven and earth I alone am the honored one. In this same story, it said that with each step Bodhisattva walked, a lotus flower emerged. And now here comes Kosimo Hajime, a character which of course anime only won't know about. He'll be introduced quite later. So Kosimo Hajime is basically a Jujutsu sorcerer who lived 400 years ago. He was originally an elderly man with striking cyan-colored eyes and hair. Kosimo sported a traditional dark-colored haori and had a unique, disheveled hairstyle. However, thanks to a new body prepared by Kenjaku, he has been reincarnated with a much younger appearance. In this new avatar, he retains his unique eye and hair color, and his attire consists of simple, white clothing. And he has one simple goal, which is to defeat Sukuna, with which Kenjaku promised him for that. That's why he's with him, but he can be a prominent aspect in bringing back Gojo. So yeah, unexpectedly Kosimo actually holds a hint to Satoru Gojo still being alive, which is quite ironic since Kosimo didn't care or even took a moment to grieve after Gojo was sliced in half. One of the meanings to Kosimo's name is Purple Cloud, which actually related to the purple cloud where Amida Buddha would ride on to welcome the people who are near death or are dying into rebirth to the Pure Land. This type of rebirth is called perfect enlightenment. A no birth and no death, passing through space and time, enlightenment. Which all link to Satoru Gojo. These hints argue that Gojo is going to reach a new enlightenment. And going on with this, the name Satoru means enlightenment and to realize the truth, which improve his chances of going through rebirth. Kosimo heading straight into the battle. Editor's comment at the end of the chapter, dashing towards near death, while Gojo being completely dead. Further proves that Satoru Gojo will be rebirthed. As discussed in the previous point, Amida Buddha would ride on a purple cloud to welcome people who are near death into the Pure Land. The editor's comment at the end of the chapter is dashing towards near death. And showcases Kosimo jumping into the fight. What it is trying to imply is that Kosimo could be the one sending Satoru Gojo to this Pure Land, meaning going north, as his name meaning would suggest, and begin the perfect enlightenment. As well as meaning purple cloud, Kosimo's name also means deer, which also has a connection to the rebirth of Satoru Gojo. In a Buddhist story about Deer Park, a deer offers his life to the king so that said king would spare the life of the doe the king was planning to kill. The doe was the sacrifice until the deer gave its life away for the survival of the doe. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find any proper definition on what it is. But from the information we have, we can deduce that Kosimo is the deer and Sukuna, the king of curses, is the king. And by jumping into the fight, Kosimo's life will be taken and in the process will also complete the context to his other name meaning purple cloud, allowing Gojo to rebirth. What is the Buddhist concept of rebirth? Buddhists believe that when someone dies, they will be reborn again as something else. What they are reborn as depends on their actions in their previous life, karma. The cycle of rebirth is called samsara and it is an ongoing cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Buddhists conceive of the world as a suffering-laden cycle of life, death, and rebirth, without beginning or end, known as samsara. Beings are driven from life to life in this system by karma, which is activated by their good or ill actions committed in this life as well as previous lives. Rebirth or enlightenment can mean a number of things in a number of topics, but to narrow it down, I'll be using the Buddhism texts on it. How many times can a person go through rebirth or enlightenment in Buddhism? So it can be any number of times as long as it falls within the rules of karma in Buddhism. Buddhists believe that there is an endless cycle of suffering known as samsara that includes life, death, and rebirth. In this system, karma, which is triggered by a person's good or bad deeds in their current life as well as previous lives, is what allows them to go from life to life. We can already conclude that Satoru Gojo can be rebirthed, as in the religion it is believed that when someone dies they will be reborn again as something else, which really links in with what Nanami says about going north and the theory that Gojo will go that way, and by following the rules of karma, Gojo Satoru will be reborn, but not as the strongest, but as something else. And it is also hinted probably, so in these manga covers as you can see the mysterious white light, some might think it might just be an artistic edit, but I guess it's a foreshadowing, which has been done before. In this cover as you can see the Sukuna's mouth and Yuji's hand but there are no marks in his face, foreshadowing that he can be able to control these powers in the future, and it happens. Currently Yuji has his unique powers of strength. So something similar might have to do with this mysterious white light, and this is also shown in the anime as well. When Gojo was playing with the pencil in the hidden inventory arc, you can see his hand getting white colored for a while, and so far we've seen nothing related to white technique in the story. And as Gojo will head to north and will come back as something else. Then this white light has to do something with it. Maybe the kind of powers he'll have will be white color based. And another important thing is this dialogue which says, curses can bring people back to life, the same way sorcery can. So far we've seen with the curse but not much with the sorcery, so maybe sorcery will have a role in Gojo's comeback. And there's something other than this chapter as well, as you know that there have been a couple of instances where a dead character came back again. The main character Yuji Itadori only died and came back again. Then Toji Fushiguro who was killed by Gojo only, came back. So in some similar way Gojo also has the tendency to come back. And remember when Yuji asked Gojo if he could defeat Sukuna, to which Gojo said it will be little tough, but he'll win. He didn't said that he would win one-sided, it would be a bit difficult to defeat him, but at the end he will be the winner. So it means that the battle isn't over yet, it's still far from being over. Now this was all the clues, let's talk about it hypothetically now. So don't you think that the way Gojo died feels very weird? Like he's one of the main characters of the series, the way his death has been presented to us is very unsatisfactory. In the previous chapter he was shown to emerge victorious and then suddenly, he was blown in half by Sukuna in the next chapter, without showing what exactly happened. His death was just shown, that's it. And no one even reacted much during this. His death feels very rushed. In the same way when Eren died in Attack on Titan initial episodes, his death was presented to us but it felt very unsatisfactory, but later on he came back with amazing powers, and I know that both of these stories are completely different, written by very different authors, but there's one thing which stays common in every movie or series which you see, which is storytelling. There have been instances in your movie series watching experience that a character's death was shown in a rushed and unsatisfactory way and then later on he came back with a very different but cool way. And this also gives some similar vibes. But again, whatever theory and clues I've told in the video could be wrong and Gojo might be really dead, but what's wrong with hoping? Hope is a good thing, right? So everyone, this is it from me. I've included almost every possible detail or clues which supports that Gojo can possibly come back, and of course we all hope he does, any way it will be. As of now, I'll meet you in my next video with another interesting topic. Till then, goodbye.